Engines. This is a Nissan VK45DE engine sitting on the floor. Well, on a dolly, but in essence on the floor. This is because you're either getting ready to install it in a vehicle or you just got it out of a vehicle. If you have access to a car lift, you have infinitely more space and convenience in getting this thing out of there. For most of us, we have a setup like this. You either have an engine hoist, aka a cherry picker, or you're a true shade tree mechanic using a tree to pull it up. Tree and come along. But let's talk about us regular guys. How do we get this done? Full disclosure, at the end of the video, I'll be trying to sell you some stuff, so hang out with me. So as you can see here, we have a chain. And what you need is a chain, strap, cable, some kind of, well, rope, twine, whatever it is that can lift an engine. I use seat belts. They're pretty strong and capable. Just keep an eye on them, that when they start fraying, get rid of them. And that applies to straps as well. So depending on how you're doing the job, depending on what stage of your project you're on, you might find it most convenient to come to the bottom. At the bottom of the oil pan, get your strap around there, get it to the top, then pull it up that way. Some people might find it better to use the exhaust manifold. So once you remove the heat shield over here, you'll be able to put your straps around the exhaust manifold and pull it up that way. This is not advisable. I would tell you, if you can, please avoid using that method. Because especially for the 2003 and 4 M45, 2002 through 2006 Q45, those exhaust manifolds were prone to cracking. So putting the extra weight of an engine on them is probably not the best move. Depending on your setup and depending on what you're using, sometimes you might be able to make the engine mount, aka the motor mount brackets, work. Here, it seems rather difficult because of how far it is in the V, but figured it's something worth discussing as well. Yet, other people might find the intake manifold an even better choice. That's because if you've had experience with older domestic engines, you think if you can lift an iron block using the intake manifold, why can't you do it for a 500-pound aluminum engine? You could. With enough dedication, you could make it work. But as you can see, the plumbing and the setup here makes it a little harder to gain clean access to it. So you could disassemble a lot of different things to get to it. But I prefer to not use that. Then what other options do you have? Glad you asked. Nissan, in the infinite wisdom, had thought about such things. So see this? This is the left bank, and this is the front side, because this is the front side of it with the pulleys. You have two threaded holes over here. This right here is one of the engineered lift points for the engine. It, lifts on the head. You have your head bolts and whatnot. I mean, it is pretty strong. Likewise, on the right bank, you have two other threaded holes over here. And these are on the back side of the engine. And that's how you lift it. So ideally, the way it works is if you have somehow, through your sources, you're a magician, you work at a dealership, whatever it is, you would have brackets that Nissan provided for the engines. They actually look much flimsier than what you see here, but those brackets would be used to do the same thing I've done here, right? Use a chain, strap, whatever you can. Unfortunately, due to the age of the engines, this is 2019, and although Nissan and in effect Infiniti have part numbers for the brackets, you cannot really order them. Whenever you put in an order, they'll get kicked out because no one makes them. So what's a guy got to do when you want to do this job? I made my own brackets, and I've had these for 5 years, I'd say, and they've been pretty beefy. I mean, but I guess there's a little bit of, it's not really a disadvantage. You get to work with it. Depends on what kind of strap mechanism you have. As you can see here, this one goes a little diagonal, right? But you can work with it. In that, the disadvantage here is that if you try to use a leveler, engine leveler, which you'd end up just tilting it basically. It doesn't work very well because you have to find a different way to actually secure it so you can lift the engine up. But it's a small thing to overcome, right? So as you can see here, this is a marketing part of the video. As you can see here, you've got an engine, which is 500, give or take. You have a transmission, 125, give or take. And sometimes, for whatever reason, the person doing the job might want to jump on the whole assembly while you're working on it. Don't judge. So if you're thinking that I am the kind of guy to over-engineer a system that can work on all those, then yes, your assumptions of me are correct. And I am the kind of guy that will do that. Well, honestly, I didn't make the brackets myself. I just did the drawings and the designs and sent the brackets onto a shop to, sent the designs off to a shop for them to make it. So this is it. I mean, it looks a little rough around the edges, but it's meant to be practical, not exactly pretty. So this is it. That's how you do it. So why are we here today? People have reached out to me through my, email, YouTube comments, and any other means of communication. And, either one, just express curiosity as to how I got my brackets for the job, or, well, and I regret not following through or rather not following up and asking these guys, hey, how did you end up doing the job? Because all the conversation ended was I got them, I had my custom ones made. So I feel like there's some interest out there, right? And because of either one, engine damage happening to people who own these cars, or two, people just curious about the JDM engines, say they want to put them in their drift missiles, or cars getting wrecked and people just getting cheap engines, or even for, just people discovering or realizing how much potential these engines have and then wanting to use them in their hybrid projects. Whatever the reason for you getting this engine, I figured there's some demand or desire somewhere for people like us who would be working in your garage, driveway, front yard, backyard, who knows, we're not judging, right? But there's probably going to be a desire for people to have proper engine brackets to lift these engines with, right? And that's why I'm here today. I decided to try to replicate those because, as you can see, even I have more than one engine and I have like 2 other projects waiting for me, and I don't want to keep transferring them in between engines. So what I ended up doing was coming up with some drawings over here. I have some sketches, basically some CAD drawings of some engine hoist brackets that I have, stuff like that. And what I intend to do is have some of these brackets made in the next 2 weeks or so, maybe a month. And this is the marketing part of it. I wanted to reach out to you guys and ask if anyone's interested in getting these brackets. If the answer is yes, leave me a comment or shoot me an email. My email address is my username @gmail.com. It's also in my homepage, about me page, or whatever it is. But I want to make something that can work for all of us. I figure, the prototypes are looking good already. These are rough prototypes. I have other stuff going on, by the way. But if you're interested, let me know. I want to know what kind of a market is there for it. Just because 5 people have expressed interest doesn't mean 100 people are going to buy them. Maybe they will, but this is me reaching out and saying, I can make them for you guys. So let's, and 2, it will support me in a way. I don't expect to make much money from them, honestly, but you could look at it as, even if you don't have an engine and you just want to buy the brackets to support me, I'll take it. For all the work we put in to share these videos, save you guys a whole lot of money. Yeah, if I make $5 out of a transaction, what's the big deal, right? Anyway, so I'll keep working on this project. I'll keep forging ahead. It's just that if anybody else is interested, I've already taken the measurements and done all the heavy lifting, quite literally. And it would be nice to just have a source for these things, right? So hit me up. Let me know if you're interested, and we'll talk to you guys on the other side.